The distance between paradise and hell can be measured in kilometers, but never crossed in a lifetime. On the hive world of Distara, where 17 billion souls draw breath beneath a canopy of industrial smoke, the morning light arrives filtered through orbital mirrors, their surfaces polished to perfection by servitor crews that have known no other purpose for 3 centuries. In the highest reaches of the noble spires, that light falls golden and warm across marble floors untouched by common boots. Here, in chambers vast enough to dwarf entire hab blocks, Lady Cassara Vera opens her eyes to another day of absolute comfort, another day of perfect ignorance. The air she breathes has been purified 17 times before reaching her lungs. The water in her bath flows from glacial springs on a moon 2 systems away, shipped at a cost that could sustain 1,000 families for a year. The silk brushing her skin was woven by artisans who went blind crafting its threads, sacrifices measured in thread count and texture, never in human toll. Every morning, Cassara wakes to a world engineered to shield her from the truth her existence demands. At 23, she is heir to House Vera, one of the 7 founding families ruling Distara since the Great Crusade. Her bloodline stretches back 12,000 years, each generation layering wealth and isolation from the masses below. On the 40th floor above the smog line, her suite sprawls across more space than most citizens will ever see. Her wardrobe holds garments worth more than entire city districts. Her jewelry could purchase a battleship. Yet she has never pondered the source of this wealth. Who mines the metals or bends under the harvests that sustain her comfort? Her morning routine unfolds as always. Servitors, their faces blank from lobotomization, attend her with mechanical precision. They dress her in robes costing more than a worker's lifetime earnings, arrange her hair with pins forged from rare metals mined where men die daily in cave-ins and toxic fumes, and paint her face with cosmetics ground from minerals harvested by children whose small fingers reach narrow ore veins. Each luxury bears the weight of suffering she cannot see, will not acknowledge, has been conditioned never to question. Breakfast arrives on silver platters carried by mute human servants, their silence bought with severed tongues. The food is exquisite. Fruits from agri-worlds watered by indentured laborers' tears. Meats from creatures raised in perfect comfort on grains that could feed populations. Bread from flour so refined it demands thousands of lives measured in efficiency quotas. Cassara eats without thought, gratitude, or recognition that each bite reflects a choice to nourish her over others. The view from her window is breathtaking. Above the pale gold sky stretches unbroken, unmarred by the toxic clouds cloaking the lower hives. Orbital mirrors catch Distara's dying sun, reflecting gentle rays that never reach the depths below. From her height, she glimpses the planet's curved horizon, the distant gleam of other noble spires, and the pristine architecture of the upper levels where her kind dwell in isolated splendor. Yet the tower's design conceals the foundation beneath. Beyond even the strongest magnifiers, 17 billion souls begin their own mornings. They wake in darkness so thick many have never seen natural light, breathe air laden with industrial particulates, scarring lungs by age 10, and eat corpse starch recycled from their dead, seasoned with additives masking decay. They toil 16-hour shifts in conditions lethal to nobles, their bodies expendable cogs in a production machine serving the luxury above. These are the hands mining her jewelry's metals, the backs harvesting her clothing's materials, the fingers crafting her unconsidered goods. Their skill and suffering translate into a comfort she has never questioned. The divide between their world and hers is not just physical, It is a chasm sculpted by design, upheld by doctrine, and sanctified by a faith turning exploitation into righteousness. The Imperium decrees hierarchy as divine will. The Emperor protects, but through structure, order, and each soul's assigned role. Nobles rule by his decree, the masses toil by his command. This is framed not as cruelty, but cosmic justice, not oppression, but sacred duty. Sermons reinforce this truth. Prayers affirm it. Rituals celebrate a system transmuting misery into divine order. Kasara has absorbed these teachings since birth, believing with the fervor of the untested, the faith of the unchallenged. Doubt is not merely discouraged, it is unthinkable. Her education shielded her from the reality below, her tutors preaching duty, honor, and governance. Her companions mirror her isolation, her assumptions, her blissful ignorance of the cost. They glide through days like actors in a scripted play, performing roles written by others, never questioning the script demanding their comfort at billions' expense. The morning schedule brings familiar pursuits. A lesson in household management teaches servant ratios, but ignores their wages or conditions. A tutorial in art appreciation lauds sculptures carved by artists dead from stone dust. A briefing on family investments discusses profits and efficiency, never the human toll. Each activity widens the gulf between her awareness and reality. Each lesson another barrier to the truth. At noon, she joins her mother, Lady Selena Vera, for the daily correspondence ritual. In a chamber walled with communications gear worth more than most planetary governments, they review sector messages. Trade deals exploiting new populations, marriage proposals expanding influence, investment opportunities yielding profits paid in lives. Their discussion flows with the casual ease of choosing dinner wines, skirting human consequences like water around stone. The afternoon ushers in social duties. Tea with wives and daughters of noble houses revolves around fashion, gossip, and status. They debate clothing trends, oblivious to the 18-hour shifts children endure to produce the fabrics. They whisper of scandals and alliances, ignoring the bribes and extortions funding their lives. They plan lavish parties, blind to the tithes and taxes wrung from starving masses. These women are not evil, not deliberately cruel. They are products of a system shielding them from their existence's fallout. Their kindness extends to peers, family, their small circle. They donate to noble charities, pray fervently for the emperor's protection, deem themselves good servants of divine order. The tragedy lies not in malice, but ignorance, not cruelty, but blindness, not hatred, but a cultivated inability to see. Evening nears with promises of another opulent dinner. Kitchens launch into a ballet of culinary art, transforming raw materials into aesthetic perfection. Chefs, trained across generations, work with galaxy-sourced ingredients, each dish a statement, each course a declaration of wealth distinguishing nobles from lesser beings. The preparation demands hundreds of skilled hands, their effort fueling a single night's thoughtless consumption. Kasara retires to prepare, her servants attending with practiced efficiency, their silence honed by training that reduces them to living fixtures. They drape her in garments shimmering with precious metals, adorn her with jewelry refracting artificial light into rainbows, and shape her image into nobility's ideal. Before mirrors reflecting only beauty and privilege, she sees nothing of the cost sustaining either. As the sun sets beyond orbital mirrors, casting noble spires in gentle twilight, the evening's entertainment begins. The great halls fill with soft conversation, the tinkle of crystal, and the muted music of purchased performers whose talent graces the night. The air carries the scent of exotic flowers maintained in gardens where the water alone costs more than most citizens earn in a lifetime. Everything is perfect. Everything is beautiful. Everything is designed to reinforce the illusion that such perfection is natural, deserved, and sustainable. But illusions, no matter how carefully maintained, can shatter with shocking suddenness. And on this particular evening, as Lady Cassara prepares to descend to dinner, the first crack appears in her perfect world. The house trembles, not violently, not dangerously, but with a subtle vibration hinting at a distant disturbance. A sound like thunder rolls up from the hive's depths, faint yet persistent, carrying whispers of breaking structures, failing systems, and disrupted order. The servants pause, their augmented ears detecting frequencies beyond human hearing. The house's defensive systems flicker to life, scanning for threats that never materialize. Then silence returns, and the moment fades like a bad dream. Upon waking, Lady Cassara dismisses the disturbance with the ease of someone unacquainted with real danger. Perhaps maintenance issues, construction mishaps in the lower levels, or infrastructure problems her family's engineers will resolve without her concern. She lacks the framework to grasp what that sound truly signified. No context to interpret its weight. No reason to link it to her existence. The tremor might as well have struck another planet, for all it alters her evening plans. She descends to dinner, her mind already turning to the social dynamics ahead. Who will attend? What conversations will unfold? Which alliances might strengthen or falter over the meal? These are the challenges occupying her intellect, the problems demanding her focus, the concerns shaping her reality. The suffering of billions remains as distant as the stars, as abstract as mathematical theories, as irrelevant as the weather on worlds she'll never visit. The dining hall gleams with the light of 1,000 candles, each flame mirrored in surfaces polished to brilliance. The long table stretches beneath a vaulted ceiling painted with scenes of imperial triumph, heroic images transforming conquest into glory, oppression into righteousness, exploitation into divine will. The assembled guests embody Dastara's noble elite, men and women whose bloodlines span millennia, whose wealth molds the fate of billions, whose decisions ripple through the galaxy like stones in still water. They speak with voices honed for authority, their words heavy with unshakable certainty. They discuss trade and governance with the casual confidence of those who've never faced the fallout of error. Their conversations touch on galactic matters, decisions affecting populations they'll never meet, policies shaping worlds they'll never see. Yet their ignorance rivals that of children playing with incomprehensible toys. The first course arrives with the ceremony of a religious rite. Servers glide silently on carpets woven from the galaxy's finest materials, their steps a testament to practiced precision. Each plate embodies hours of preparation, each arrangement a masterpiece crafted by culinary artisans. The food transcends sustenance, becoming an aesthetic experience engaging all senses while nourishing the body. The cost of this single course could fund entire city districts' food needs, yet such thoughts never pierce the consciousness of those who partake. Lady Cassara takes her place at the high table with the innate grace of born privilege. Her seat, a throne elevating her above even her noble peers, reflects her family's status. Conversation flows around her like music, familiar chords of power and influence she's known since childhood. She joins with the ease of a role rehearsed from infancy, her words shaping discussions whose consequences she cannot fathom, whose implications she's never been taught to weigh. Topics span the noble spectrum. Trade agreements with off-world partners boosting profits while exploiting new populations. Military contracts profiting from conflicts they help ignite. Investment opportunities in mining operations consuming workers like fuel. Their lives tallied in production quotas rather than worth. Each subject is debated with the detached intellectualism of analyzing abstract puzzles, their talks severed from the human cost of every choice. A guest mentions recent unrest in the lower hives, disturbances disrupting schedules and threatening margins. The discussion turns to solutions. Increased surveillance, harsher punishments, reduced rations until compliance returns. They treat human beings as machine components, problems to solve rather than people to consider. Their proposed fixes unveil the casual cruelty of those immune to their decisions' repercussions, the abstract brutality of leaders who will never taste the outcomes. Lady Cassara listens with the mild interest of an academic debate. The lower hives are economic abstractions in her mind. Revenue sources, not homes of living souls. Unrest means disrupted schedules, not human despair. Solutions are judged by efficiency, not morality. This is not cruelty, but ignorance, not malice, but blindness, not hatred, but the perfect insulation her upbringing and environment have crafted. The second course arrives as the first is cleared, another culinary triumph transforming raw ingredients into art. The presentation alone demands more labor than most citizens expend in a week, its preparation honed by lifetimes of skill. Each element is chosen for perfection, rarity, and its ability to flaunt the wealth of those consuming it. Their pleasure is genuine, their appreciation real, their satisfaction honest. They enjoy without pretense, blind to the cost. Conversation shifts to culture and refinement, artistic patronage, support for musicians and poets glorifying nobility and justifying their rule. They plan commissions celebrating family legacies, achievements, and imperial glory. The artists they back create beauty, but at the expense of laborers' suffering and taxes. Each painting, sculpture, or composition reflects a choice to prioritize aesthetic pleasure over welfare, decided without weighing alternatives. A young lord enthuses about his latest acquisition, a sculpture of rare stone by a legendary artist. He details its perfect proportions, exquisite craft, and embodiment of imperial nobility in stone, omitting that the artist died of lung disease from dust, the quarry claimed hundreds of lives, and transport costs could have fed communities. These truths lie beyond his understanding, irrelevant to his admiration. Lady Cassara adds her own insights on aesthetics, her comments revealing an educated taste for art and culture. Her tutors schooled her in beauty's recognition, artistic merits evaluation, and creative expression's proper response. Her intellect is sharp, her education thorough, her aesthetic sense refined. Yet all exist within crafted boundaries, walls of ignorance, barring her from linking beauty to its cost, art to its consequences, culture to the suffering sustaining it. The meal progresses through multiple courses, each more elaborate, a journey through the Imperium's finest products. Ingredients are sourced galaxy-wide at costs bankrupting worlds. Spices from agri-planets fertilized with workers' ground bones. Wines aged in vaults dug by miners never seeing daylight. Delicacies perfected by chefs who died honing their craft. Each bite crowns countless human efforts, the alchemy of suffering into pleasure defining noble life. Between courses, entertainment unfolds with performers bought for the night. Musicians play instruments worth more than city districts, their skill forged by lifelong training. Dancers move with grace born of years of discipline, their health sacrificed to their art. Poets recite verses exalting noble virtue and imperial glory, turning exploitation into righteousness, oppression into divine will. The performance is magnificent, the artistry genuine, the execution flawless. Only the cost remains unseen. Lady Cassara watches with the appreciation of one raised to value artistic excellence. Her response is sincere, her pleasure real, her talent recognition authentic. She's trained to savor beauty in all forms, to identify quality and refinement. The performers embody human achievement's peak, their dedication worthy of respect. Yet she admires their art without questioning the system birthing it, enjoys their skill without pondering its life-draining price. The evening advances with the stately rhythm of ritual, each element fitting its place in noble entertainment's sequence. Conversation weaves through topics of their class, discussions revealing their concerns, priorities, and worldview. They address issues affecting trillions with the casual assurance of the unquestioned, whose authority faces no challenge, whose wisdom escapes the test of consequence. A senior lord discusses upcoming negotiations with off-world trading partners, deals that will expand their commercial empire while exploiting new populations. His analysis is sophisticated, his understanding of economic principles comprehensive, his strategic thinking impressive. He speaks of market forces and competitive advantages, profit margins and risk assessments, opportunity costs and strategic positioning. His expertise is genuine, his intelligence obvious, his competence unquestionable. Yet all of his knowledge exists within a framework that treats human beings as resources, populations as markets, and suffering as an acceptable business cost. The discussion unveils the machinery of exploitation sustaining noble wealth, complex systems transforming human misery into comfortable lives. Trade agreements grant nobles exclusive access to slave labor products. Tax policies strip wealth from the poorest while sparing the richest, and labor practices deem workers expendable production cogs. Each element, refined over centuries and perfected through generations, optimizes wealth's upward flow while crippling resistance or escape from below. Lady Cassara participates in these conversations with growing confidence as the evening advances. Her education has primed her for this role, her training equipping her with the knowledge and skills to join the ruling class. She offers insights revealing her intellect, suggestions demonstrating her grasp of complex issues, and observations showcasing her emerging understanding of impending responsibilities. Her contributions are welcomed, her opinions valued, her participation encouraged. She fulfills her destiny, maturing into the leader she was born to be, proving her worthiness to inherit her family's legacy. Yet, even as she displays competence and earns her place, she remains utterly detached from the reality her position demands. Her knowledge is thorough but confined, her intelligence keen yet limited to approved topics, her skills advanced yet applied only within acceptable bounds. She has been groomed to rule effectively without ever glimpsing what she will govern, trained to decide without understanding consequences, educated to wield power ignorant of its costs. The final courses arrive as the evening peaks. Delicacies so rare and costly, their consumption is pure extravagance. Foods existing solely to flaunt wealth, ingredients serving only to prove affordability of the unattainable. Their preparation demands techniques so intricate that mastering them consumes entire lifetimes, skills so specialized that practitioners become prisoners of their expertise. Each bite crowns human suffering, transformed into fleeting pleasure, the ultimate expression of a system prioritizing aristocratic enjoyment over life. The conversation reaches its own crescendo, emboldened by wine and success. Participants speak more freely of plans and ambitions, strategies to expand wealth, techniques to tighten control over serving populations, methods to ensure the system's stability and profit. Their planning is meticulous, their grasp of power dynamics sophisticated, their understanding of human psychology striking. They converse as conquerors plotting campaigns, rulers designing control systems, gods shaping mortal fates. Lady Cassara is swept into the excitement, her contributions growing bolder and more assured. She proposes refining taxation to extract more from working populations while offering just enough hope to prevent despair-fueled revolt. She suggests modifying education to breed compliant workers while flagging troublemakers for removal. She offers insights into psychological tactics, turning exploitation into perceived privilege, oppression into protection. Her ideas are brilliant, her suggestions sophisticated, her insight into human nature impressive. She embodies the intelligence and creativity marking her as a true heir, capable not just of maintaining but expanding her family's dominion. The nobles respond with approval and admiration, recognizing traits that will make her a formidable leader, a worthy successor to centuries of successful rule. She has proven herself, secured her place, demonstrated fitness to inherit power beyond common imagination. As the evening closes, with final toasts raised and last courses consumed, Lady Cassara feels a deep sense of completion and satisfaction beyond mere social triumph. She has engaged in something greater than herself, shaped discussions influencing world's futures, affirmed her worthiness to inherit a legacy spanning millennia. The evening was perfect, the company stimulating, the conversation enlightening. She retires to her chambers with the contentment of one who has found her place in the cosmic order, embraced her purpose and destiny. Yet, as she prepares for sleep in her lavish suite, with servants tending her mechanically and the celebration's echoes fading into the upper spire's comfortable silence, she remains oblivious that her perfect night was funded by billions suffering, her satisfaction bought with their despair, her contentment reliant on populations she'll never envision. Tomorrow will bring another day of comfort and privilege, more social duties and political talks, another chance to prove her fitness for her birthright. She will wake in her perfect world, insulated from reality by wealth and ignorance, shielded from truth by systems designed to obscure her existence's consequences. The distance between her paradise and the hell sustaining it will remain unmeasured and uncrossed, a chasm upheld by design, necessity, and the human tendency to see only what one chooses. But tomorrow, for the first time, that distance will begin to collapse. The morning arrives with the same golden light, the same purified air, the same meticulously orchestrated routine of luxury and comfort. Lady Cassara wakes refreshed and satisfied, her mind still aglow with last night's success, her confidence buoyed by peers' recognition. The day ahead promises more pleasures and privileges, another step to deepen her grasp of her destined role, another milestone toward her inheritance. Her servants attend her morning routine with their usual efficiency, their movements so practiced they seem extensions of her will. They dress her in garments suited for the day's events, arrange her appearance to project noble grace and authority. The process feels as natural as breathing, as automatic as her heartbeat, as inevitable as dawn. She has never known another way to start a day, never imagined billions waking to darkness, cold, and survival's immediate press. Breakfast arrives with its customary magnificence, each dish a culinary masterpiece pleasing not just the palate, but all senses. She eats leisurely, savoring flavors crowning human achievement in transforming raw materials into art. The meal costs more than most families earn in a lifetime, but such figures lie beyond her understanding. She consumes luxury with the unconscious ease of one who has never known scarcity, want, or choice between needs. The day's schedule includes a visit to the family's manufacturing interests in the mid-level districts, a tour meant to educate her on the commercial enterprises funding her life. It's framed as training in responsibility, preparation for inherited duties, and guidance in overseeing business operations. The visit is meticulously planned to showcase the clean, efficient, well-managed facets of their industrial empire while concealing anything disturbing her perception of it as benevolent and essential. Lady Cassara approaches the expedition with the mild interest of fulfilling an educational duty. She grasps the importance of understanding the family business, recognizes her need to prepare for future roles, accepts the value of practical management experience. Yet her understanding remains within the comfortable abstractions of her education, theoretical knowledge untested by reality, academic preparation blind to the human cost of the systems she'll control. The air cab carrying her to the mid-levels is a marvel of engineering and luxury. Its hull gleams with polish, its interior adorned with materials worth more than entire city districts. She travels in comfort, shielding her from the outside world as effectively as any fortress. The vehicle's systems filter air, regulate temperature, control lighting, and modulate sound to maintain perfect conditions. Even in transit, she remains insulated from the reality beyond. As the cab descends through the hive's levels, the view shifts. The golden light of the upper reaches fades to the mid-level's artificial glow. Architecture turns utilitarian over aesthetic. Population density rises, building spacing tightens, and signs of wealth thin. Yet these changes stay abstract to her. Scenery framed by armored, transparent steel preserving her separation. The manufacturing district balances production necessity with noble sensibility. Here, the family's industrial operations reside in facilities designed to minimize ugliness while maximizing efficiency and profit. The buildings are clean by hive standards, walkways reasonably safe, air filtration adequate to protect visiting nobility from immediate harm. Its industry tailored for noble approval, production polished for aristocratic oversight. Lady Cassara steps from her air cab with the confidence of entering familiar ground. Facility managers greet her with deference befitting her rank, their preparations evident in every reception detail. They've spent weeks readying for her visit. Cleaning equipment usually left grimy, briefing workers on noble etiquette, arranging tours to show only what they want her to see while hiding anything disruptive. The tour begins in administrative sections, clean, comfortable spaces where management occurs in environments akin to her home. She meets supervisors, accountants, engineers, and planners, the educated professionals translating noble directives into action. They speak her language, share her cultural references, align with her priorities. Their reports are thorough yet edited, their explanations detailed but diplomatic, their presentations informative without alarm. The production figures they present are impressive. Thank you for providing the fourth part of the YouTube transcript. Below, I've corrected the punctuation, improved clarity, and rewritten the text for better flow, while ensuring the start and end remain exactly the same as in the original transcript. I've preserved the dystopian tone, key details, e.g., Lady Kasara's tour of the manufacturing district, the air cab deviation, and her first glimpse of the hive's harsh reality. And narrative consistency, aligning with the Warhammer 40K setting and your channel Imperium Chronicles. This part integrates seamlessly with the previous sections about Lady Kasara Vera's life on Distara. Rewritten transcript with corrected punctuation. Revenues that demonstrate the success of family policies and the competence of management oversight. The profit margins reveal the efficiency of their operations. The return on investment, justifying continued confidence in their methods. The growth projections suggest expanding opportunities, new markets to exploit, additional populations to fold into their commercial empire. Everything they show her confirms the righteousness of their enterprise, the necessity of their methods, the inevitability of their success. Lady Kasara reviews these materials with growing satisfaction, her confidence in the family business bolstered by evidence of its prosperity and efficiency. She asks intelligent questions revealing her grasp of business principles, offers observations demonstrating strategic thinking, and provides suggestions showing her readiness for greater responsibility. The managers respond with approval and respect, recognizing traits that will make her an effective leader, capable of sustaining and growing the empire she will inherit. The next phase of the tour leads her into the production areas, carefully selected sections of the manufacturing complex where creation unfolds. These spaces have been prepped for her visit, scrubbed beyond normal standards, organized to project the most favorable image of working conditions and operational efficiency. The workers she encounters are hand-picked for appearance and demeanor, trained to portray satisfied, productive employees rather than the reality of desperate, exploited laborers. She observes the production processes with the analytical interest of someone learning the technicalities of wealth creation. The machinery impresses, the coordination is complex, the efficiency evident. Workers move with practiced skill, their motions honed by years of experience, their output measured in quantities translating directly to family profit. She witnesses raw materials transform into finished goods, human labor shaping products fueling her lifestyle, all appearing clean, efficient, and morally neutral. The workers she meets have been coached in appropriate responses to noble inquiries. They express gratitude for employment, satisfaction with conditions, and loyalty to the family providing purpose and sustenance. Their words are rehearsed, their demeanor practiced, their performance crafted to reinforce her view of the nobility-worker relationship as mutually beneficial, naturally ordered, and morally justified. She sees, hears, and understands only what she's been prepared to perceive. Lady Kasara engages these workers with the benevolent interest of someone fulfilling a duty to care for those under her authority. She inquires about their welfare, satisfaction, and appreciation for the family's opportunities. Their responses affirm her self-image as a benevolent ruler, whose wealth serves the greater good by offering employment and structure to those otherwise purposeless. The interaction leaves her content with her role, confident in her righteousness, secure in her grasp of the natural order. As the tour progresses through additional facility sections, her exposure to production reality remains tightly controlled and edited. She views aspects presented as noble and necessary, elements of industrial processes supporting her perception of family enterprise as beneficial and righteous. Managers explain each step in terms emphasizing efficiency and necessity, productivity and profit, success and growth. Their language reframes exploitation as opportunity, suffering as service, desperation as dedication. The technical intricacies fascinate her. the complexity and coordination turning raw materials into products. She begins to comprehend the scale of operations funding her life, the intricate systems generating wealth she's always taken for granted. Her questions grow more sophisticated as her understanding deepens, her interest more genuine as she appreciates these facilities' impressive achievements. She feels pride in the family enterprise, satisfaction in the efficiency and success of the operations she'll one day inherit. Yet, even as her knowledge expands and her insight sharpens, she remains insulated from the human cost of the efficiency she admires, the suffering beneath the success she celebrates, the desperation driving the productivity she praises. The tour is designed to educate her on business operations while shielding her from moral dilemmas, to enhance her competence while preserving her innocence, to prepare her for leadership while maintaining ignorance of its demands. The final section takes her through quality control and shipping operations, where family enterprise products are readied for sector-wide distribution. Here, she sees the production process's culmination, goods poised to become the wealth sustaining her existence. The efficiency is striking, the organization sophisticated, the scale vast. Products flow through systems optimizing speed and quality, their movement orchestrated by logistical planning spanning star systems. Managers detail the complexity of distribution networks carrying family goods across the galaxy, trading relationships centuries old, commercial agreements shaping entire worlds' destinies. She begins to grasp the true scope of family influence, the extent to which their decisions impact unseen populations, the degree to which their wealth relies on systems touching billions of lives. Yet this understanding stays abstract, theoretical, disconnected from the human consequences of the power she's learning to wield. As the tour ends and she prepares to return to the upper spire's comfort, Lady Cassara feels accomplishment and satisfaction. She has met her educational duty, broadened her grasp of family business, proven her readiness for greater responsibility. The visit was successful, informative, and fitting her station. She re-enters her air cab with confidence in the family enterprise's righteousness, pride in its operational efficiency, and satisfaction in her growing competence as a future leader. The air cab ascends through the hive, carrying her back toward the noble district's golden light and purified air. The journey retraces the transitional zones she noted descending, but now she views them with the assurance of one understanding her place in the greater system, recognizing their necessity and accepting their inevitability. Changes in architecture, density, and condition no longer seem mere scenery, but evidence of the natural order, society's proper alignment under divine will and practical need. But as the cab climbs toward the upper reaches safety, as Lady Cassara settles into her cushioned seat with educational duty fulfilled, the flawless machinery of her insulation encounters a minor flaw, so small, so seemingly trivial, it nearly goes unnoticed. A brief system failure in the air cab's navigation array, a glitch so fleeting it barely registers on monitors, a momentary lapse in the technology maintaining her reality's separation. The failure lasts less than 30 seconds. Backup systems engage instantly. The course correction is minimal, the delay barely perceptible. Under normal circumstances, this minor malfunction would be logged for routine maintenance and forgotten, a slight imperfection in the vast machinery sustaining noble life. The air cab continues its rise, its passenger unaware of any issue, its systems functioning within acceptable limits despite the brief disruption. Yet in those 30 seconds, in that fleeting imperfection, the carefully upheld boundaries of Lady Cassara's world shift by the slightest margin. The navigation error diverts the cab by mere kilometers, a distance so minor it hardly qualifies as an error. Backup systems correct it almost immediately, restoring the proper trajectory with mechanical precision. The arrival delay will be minutes, the inconvenience slight, the schedule impact negligible. But those kilometers carry the air cab over a hive section, never meant for noble eyes. Areas outside planned routes shielding aristocracy from harsh truths. Through her filtered transparent window, Lady Cassara glimpses spaces absent from tours, populations never intended for her gaze, conditions beyond acceptable noble knowledge. The view lasts moments before navigation restores the course, but in that span, she sees realities her education never prepared her to face. Hab blocks so overcrowded humans stack like cargo, windows blackened by centuries of grime, structures sagging under desperate overpopulation, manufacturing facilities where air writhes with toxic particulates, machinery running without the safety measures of her curated tour. Workers endure conditions lethal to her, their bodies adapted by generations to environments destroying health as surely as weapons end lives. Children, meant for education, tend machines towering like predators, their small fingers reaching where adult hands cannot. Women stoop under loads beyond their strength, backs permanently bent by labor turning them into tools for wealth they'll never touch. The cab passes a partially collapsed mag rail tunnel, debris forming a canyon of twisted metal and shattered stone. Emergency crews toil with desperate efficiency, knowing their lives hinge on speed and skill. Bodies emerge irregularly, some moving with the slow agony of the injured, others carried in the stillness of irreparable damage. The disaster's scale unfolds as she sees the collapse's full reach, a failure claiming hundreds of lives and disrupting the hive's transportation network. Lady Cassara stares with the fascination of one encountering something utterly foreign, beyond her comprehension. The scene reveals system failures she never considered, infrastructure breakdowns she never noticed, decision consequences she was never asked to ponder. The workers in the wreckage are people she never acknowledged, their suffering she never weighed, their deaths she never learned to value. The navigation systems complete their correction, returning the air cab to its planned route and carrying her from the destruction. The window view reverts to familiar, controlled sights, managed spaces presenting acceptable hive life to noble eyes. The glimpse of reality fades like a troubling dream, replaced by the reassuring norm of curated environments. Yet the images linger in her mind with unexpected tenacity, resisting her desire to dismiss them, etching themselves with unsettling clarity. The air cab continues toward the upper reaches' safety and comfort, but Lady Cassara finds herself unable to shrug off what she saw as easily as she'd like. That brief reality glimpse cracks the perfect shell of her ignorance, a tiny flaw in the seamless barrier shielding her from her existence's truth. The crack is small, nearly insignificant, but it lets questions seep through, queries her education never taught her to ask, doubts her upbringing never equipped her to handle. She wonders about the wreckage workers. Did they survive? Will families mourn? Does their sacrifice serve beyond maintaining systems benefiting those far above their pain? These are not questions she was trained to pose, concerns she was taught to avoid, thoughts threatening the comfortable certainties defining her worldview. Yet they persist with disquieting force, refusing to be dismissed or forgotten. The air cab reaches the transport nexus that serves the noble districts, a facility designed to facilitate smooth transitions between transportation modes while upholding stringent security and comfort levels. Here, Lady Cassara should transfer to ground vehicles for the final journey to her family's spire, a routine shift typically requiring no thought or attention. The Nexus epitomizes efficient design, its systems synchronized to minimize inconvenience while maximizing safety and comfort for noble users. But as the air cab nears the Nexus, with the transfer poised to unfold with mechanical precision, the tunnel collapse's aftermath begins to ripple far beyond the disaster site. The mag rail network, an integrated whole where each component relies on the other's function, suffers more than a single tunnel's loss. It disrupts the fragile balance sustaining the entire transportation system. Secondary failures cascade like falling dominoes, each breakdown straining remaining parts, each malfunction pushing systems beyond design limits. Power fluctuations jolt the electrical grid, energizing rail lines. Computer failures scramble traffic flow algorithms, and mechanical breakdowns emerge as equipment is overtaxed to compensate for the destroyed tunnel's lost capacity. The transport nexus, built for normal traffic loads with comfortable efficiency, buckles under the redirected surge of vehicles and passengers displaced by the rail network's collapse. Emergency protocols activate automatically, but these were never engineered for disruptions of this scale or duration. The meticulous choreography of noble transportation unravels as infrastructure failure invades spaces designed to remain insulated from such realities. Lady Cassara's air cab hovers in a holding pattern as traffic control wrestles with escalating chaos below. Through her window, she observes growing disorder as systems meant for seamless operation falter under unexpected strain. Ground vehicles queue in lines exceeding the facility's capacity, drivers frustrated by delays never meant to occur. Emergency services dart through the tumult with lights and sirens, their urgency clashing with noble travel's usual leisure. The delay stretches from minutes to hours as cascading failures infiltrate critical systems. What began as a minor navigation error has morphed into a significant breach of the carefully maintained barriers separating noble life from surrounding harshness. Lady Cassara finds herself marooned in an air cab above a scene of mounting disorder, her isolation no longer absolute, her separation from reality compromised. As the delay persists and efforts to restore normalcy falter against the disruption's scale, she faces a choice never meant to arise. She can stay in the air cab, awaiting system repairs and resumed service, enduring whatever delays ensue. Or she can descend into the Nexus, navigating chaos for alternative transport, accepting exposure to uncontrolled reality that defies every noble security and comfort tenet. The choice should be clear. Safety protocols mandate remaining in the secure air cab until proper arrangements are secured. Her training stresses maintaining distance from uncontrolled populations and unpredictable situations. Her education has conditioned her to avoid this very exposure to messy, complex, dangerous realities beyond noble privilege. Yet, as she watches the chaos unfold, as she notes workers' desperate efforts to salvage order in systems unprepared for such strain, she grapples with questions her sheltered life never demanded. The Nexus workers are not mere resources, but individuals whose competence and dedication keep her systems running. Their efforts, sacrifices, and willingness to exceed safe limits for solutions, these are the human truths underpinning her privileged ease. The decision, when it comes, strikes her with sudden clarity. Rather than waiting for system restoration or staying safely detached, Lady Cassara opts to descend into the Nexus, to traverse the chaos for whatever transport remains. This choice defies her upbringing's every principle, contradicts her education's lessons, and challenges the assumptions defining noble conduct. The air cab lands in a maintenance vehicle zone, a space lacking the amenities and security of noble passenger areas. As Lady Cassara steps from her familiar comfort, she enters uncharted territory where privilege offers no automatic shield, status no guaranteed favor, and she must navigate reality without servants or systems buffering her from complications. The Nexus pulses with an intensity and urgency she's never known. Workers moving with desperate efficiency to tackle crises outpacing solutions. The air carries unfamiliar sounds, the sharp crackle of overloaded electrics, the grind of machinery pushed past safety, the voices of people relaying critical data under pressure. Everything moves at a pace starkly contrasting noble life's measured rhythm. She attempts to reach areas with alternative transport, but her knowledge of the Nexus, gleaned from curated tours and briefings, proves useless amid emergency chaos. Familiar landmarks vanish beneath emergency gear. Normal paths are blocked by rerouted traffic, and workers rush past, focused on urgent tasks, barely acknowledging her. For the first time, Lady Cassara stands where her presence demands no special notice. Her needs aren't prioritized, and she competes with others for scarce attention and aid. The experience is both terrifying and strangely liberating, frightening in its unfamiliarity, yet honest in its lack of pretense. As she navigates this alien terrain, she meets a maintenance supervisor managing transport options for displaced passengers. In his 50s, his face etched by industrial exposure, his hands stained by hands-on work rather than mere oversight, he blends professional skill with the frustration of tackling insoluble problems. When she identifies herself and requests transport help, his response highlights the chasm between noble expectations and operational truth. Systems ensuring seamless aristocratic service have collapsed under the crisis's weight, their capacity diverted to urgent needs. Available transport includes maintenance vehicles and emergency pods, utilitarian crafts lacking the comfort, security, and amenities of noble travel. The supervisor explains with the patience of one accustomed to tough circumstances and demanding personalities. The MagRail collapse has crippled not just local routes, but the Hive's entire network. Repairs are underway, but the damage's scope demands resources never stockpiled for such emergencies. Normal service restoration could take days, weeks, or months to reach full capacity. Lady Cassara listens, her understanding deepening of the disaster's scale glimpsed from her air cab, and the fragility of systems she assumed indestructible, maintained by experts ensuring reliability. The reality of cascading failures, overwhelming demands, and insufficient resources shatters those assumptions in ways her education never anticipated. The offered transport is a maintenance pod for technical staff, functional, reliable, but devoid of comfort or luxury. The journey to noble districts will pass through Hive sections typically avoided by aristocracy, where noble route maintenance yields to working spaces stark minimalism. The supervisor warns of conditions breaching noble travel standards. The route crosses industrial districts with air quality failing aristocratic health norms. The pod lacks filtration systems protecting from environmental hazards, and it will expose her to populations and spaces never meant for noble eyes. Lady Cassara accepts with a mix of resignation and curiosity that surprises her. Practical need to reach her destination overrides noble travel protocols, but beyond necessity, she feels a genuine interest in exploring spaces her usual routes conceal. That fleeting air cab glimpse has sparked a hunger for understanding her privileged life suppressed, a desire to peer beyond noble perception's curated limits. The maintenance pod is cramped, uncomfortable, and stripped of amenities, making noble travel pleasant, Seats prioritize function over comfort, controls focus on efficiency over elegance, and the vehicle is built for reliability and cost-effectiveness over passenger satisfaction. For Lady Cassara, accustomed to transport insulating her with luxury, the pod is a jarring downgrade in comfort and status. Yet, as it journeys through the hive's depths, along routes bypassing noble corridors, she finds the reduced comfort brings heightened reality contact. The pod's viewports, designed for technical observation, offer unfiltered vistas her usual travel hid. Industrial districts reveal their true nature, intensity and desperation eclipsing even the Nexus's managed chaos. Production facilities fueling noble wealth expose their uncurated reality. Air shimmers with toxic particulates, lethal to unprotected nobles but breathed daily by workers. Machinery runs beyond safe limits, driven by quotas valuing production over safety, efficiency over welfare. Lady Cassara watches through the viewport with growing horror and fascination. Workers move with the weary resolve of those pushed past physical limits, their bodies scarred by industrial labor in conditions destroying health as surely as war ends lives. Children work beside adults, defying safety protocols from her educational tour, their small size vital for tasks unreachable by larger hands. The supervisor's commentary bridges official policies and operational truth. Safety rules on paper are ignored when production demands conflict. Conditions shown during noble visits degrade when attention shifts, and workers' humanity fades under quotas, treating them as expendable resources in profit-driven systems. As the pod traverses increasingly desperate districts, Lady Cassara grasps the true foundation of her comfortable life. Every luxury demands the suffering of those never tasting her comfort. Every convenience requires sacrifices measured in quotas rather than fulfillment. Every privileged moment is bought with the blood, sweat, and despair of unseen populations. The realization dawns not as a sudden shock, but a mounting awareness, detail by detail, horror by horror, until the weight becomes unbearable. She was not evil, but ignorant, not cruel, but complicit, not a chooser of suffering, but blind to its necessity for her existence. The pod reaches a maintenance station for refueling and route planning, a hub for technical staff keeping hive systems running. Here, Lady Cassara meets workers whose expertise sustains noble infrastructure, yet whose living conditions expose the system's true priorities. Thank you for providing the 6th part of the YouTube transcript. Below, I've corrected the punctuation, improved clarity, and rewritten the text for better flow while ensuring the start and end remain exactly the same as in the original transcript. I've preserved the dystopian tone, key details, e.g., Lady Cassara's encounter with hive workers, her journey's revelations, and her moral dilemma, and narrative consistency, aligning with the Warhammer 40K setting and your channel Imperium Chronicles. This part integrates seamlessly with the previous sections about Lady Cassara, Vera's life on Dastara. Rewritten transcript with corrected punctuation. They live in spaces deemed uninhabitable by noble standards, eat food rejected by aristocratic pets, breathe air triggering immediate evacuation if detected in noble districts. Yet these are the people whose competence and dedication prevent the total collapse of systems sustaining hive civilization. Their knowledge of complex technical systems surpasses most nobles. Their problem-solving skills outstrip aristocratic education. Their commitment to duty shames noble privilege. They work not from choice but necessity, not from satisfaction but desperation, not from loyalty but the sheer demand for survival in a system offering no alternatives. Lady Cassara speaks with several of these workers during the refueling stop. Her questions reflect genuine curiosity about their lives and experiences. Their responses offer perspectives her education omitted, insights her comfortable assumptions never permitted her to explore. They recount families shattered by industrial accidents, children denied education because their labor outweighs their learning, communities enduring perpetual crisis as efficiency-driven systems teeter on catastrophic failure. The conversation unveils the human cost of the efficiency she admired on her tour, the suffering beneath the success she was taught to celebrate, the desperation fueling the productivity she was trained to value. The workers speak without bitterness, their tone matter-of-fact rather than accusatory, their demeanor accepting realities that would horrify noble sensibilities. They've adapted to conditions crushing aristocratic morale, cultivated resilience outmatching noble character, found ways to retain humanity amid systems reducing people to production cogs. As the pod resumes its journey toward the noble districts, Lady Cassara struggles to reconcile these revelations with the assumptions defining her life. The comfortable certainties of her upbringing cannot easily absorb the realities she's witnessed. The moral simplicities of her education fail to address the complexities she's encountered. She faces a choice: cling to ignorance or embrace knowledge that will reshape her understanding of herself and her world. The final journey segment crosses transitional zones between working districts and noble spires, where the hive shifts from utilitarian function to aesthetic focus. Here, disparities in maintenance, air quality, and conditions sharpen as the pod moves from